This is Scott Vanderplu, and you're listening to the Artist Edition Index Podcast, Episode 50. Thank you for joining me once more as I take the written word from aeindex.org and bring it to the verbal form. I'm surprised I made it to 50 episodes. Do it once a month. Last day of the month it posted. I think I missed 1 month along the way, but I'm glad we're still here. And thank you for joining me along this journey as well. As we continue to go through the Artist Edition material, release dates, things are getting slimmer and slimmer. Well, as we said, previously we talked about having 6 volumes last year in 2020, 6 volumes the year before in 2019, and 2021 looks to be about the same. We really have to treasure and take advantage of releases that are coming out. It's interesting, brings me to a letter received, and it says, "Hi, in the article or podcast of Scott Dunbier, some interesting points were discussed. Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein Artist Edition slated for February 2021. Is the release still for 2021 or later?" He says, "I have been waiting for this book since 2 years and can't wait to have it at my place." Sorry for my English. And it comes from Dejo. So thank you for writing in. Appreciate that. I'm checking it looks like your ISP is from France, so appreciate a letter from France, any of our French readers and listeners. Unfortunately, Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein Artist Edition is still one of those books where we just don't know what's happening. We're hoping it's going to be released, but it's been several years and it's never actually been solicited. It was announced, at San Diego Comic-Con, but we never got all the way to a solicitation. So I know there was a delay with getting the book off the ground and some licensing or some work along that line with contracts, and then but still nothing in the book. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope we see a 2021 release for that. Speaking of releases, let's discuss changes that we've seen. We had 2 changes, actually 3 in total. Diamond finally caught up and removed the James Cameron's The Abyss Artisan Edition from the schedule. We knew that was coming. Scott Dunbier told us last year that that wasn't going to come out. So we can only hope that it's resolicited and then we see that work someday. Kaluta's work is pretty thin on the ground as far as the AE format goes, and I'm anxious to see any of it. So The Abyss would have been good. The changes we saw are the Best of Vampirella Magazine Art Edition from Dynamite. I mean, this is so the date was changed to March 3rd. Now, if we go down to Dynamite on my AE Index page and look at this book, it was first solicited for September 2016. So we're 3.5 years later and a new solicitation date. Now, I don't know if that's Diamond moving the dates or if that's Dynamite moving the dates. I would have to think that's if it's not Dynamite, then Diamond will catch that eventually, and we may see that drop. The other date change we saw was EC Covers Artist Edition has now been moved to July 7th. Books still on the schedule are Jim Lee's X-Men Artist Edition for February 24th. Now, speaking of those shipping notifications, Scott Dunbier was on the forums, the Tap Talk forums, yesterday, or that was early this morning, and he said EC Covers is approved for print, 150 covers in it, and the Jim Lee book is all printed and in the States. Should be out in a month or less. But every time I say that, something goes wrong. Now, I've been reading that there are severe backups at the ports in Western United States as they get in material from Asia. So that could be the reason for the delay. And we did see one shipping change on that book, but let's keep our fingers crossed. And we see it, I think, hoping for the end of February, and maybe, it may be the beginning of March, but either way, it's nice to see that we will see that book. And again, that was, it has been announced that there will be a signed version of that. The standard hardcover is $150, and the signed version, available only from IDW website, not solicited yet, so you have to wait for that. I would wait for the week it's being released to the standard edition is being released to comic shops before you can see the signed edition appear on the website. But it's signed by Jim Lee and Scott Williams as inker, so that's going to be $300 US. So if you're looking for the signed limited edition, wait for it, it's coming. All right, that was it for shipping changes. Again, because the schedule is so small, I mean, we do have 2 books coming via Kickstarter that I have not seen anything lately from P. Craig Russell and Wayne Allen Harold for that book. That I've got that coming, but there's been no updates, no cover yet even. And then we have the Nexus book, and there was an update from Steve Root about that, or his wife, whoever does the newsletter, and they're saying end of March. So we'll have to keep our fingers crossed for that, and I've got that in order too. So they are shipping to my U.S. post box. It's funny, because the way the border's closed, I didn't have really opportunities to go to the States and get things, but I had a chance to take advantage of someone who goes across the border commercially, and they were able to get my stuff for me. And I had 10 months worth of books. So as an aside, I'm 2 books away from completing my Library of American Comics collection. So that's pretty exciting. 2 to go. One is missing an MIA from a comic shop in the States. Don't know where that is. I contacted the shop and they have not replied. So I think I may be filing an issue with my credit card to get a refund with that. But that is a complete aside and not related to this at all. So back on schedule. What else is going on? I think the big news for January 2021, as is the big news every January, is the 2020 Dunbier Awards. Let me give you the blurb here. A new year is upon us, and that means 2020 is complete, and we can vote on the Artist Edition format books published in the past 12 months. The voting is done through internal polling, which limits votes by IP address and cookie. Voting is open from January 1st to January 31st, with the winners posted on February 1st. These annual awards are named for Scott Dunbier, who at IDW created the Artist Edition format in 2010. They are meant to shine a spotlight on the format and the works published in the previous year. Survey is all text-based. Here is a cover gallery, so I list the 6 books. And let me remind you again what those 6 books are. Dave Cockrum's X-Men Artifact Edition. These are in alphabetical order. Ed Pisker, the Fantagraphics Studio Edition. Michael Golden's Micronauts Artist Edition. Original Art, the Daniel Clowes Studio Edition. P. Craig Russell's The Selfless Giant and Other Stories Fine Art Edition. And the Sandman Overture, J.H. Williams III Gallery Edition. So 6 books, interestingly, from 4 publishers, right? 2 from Fantagraphics, 2 from 2 from IDW, 1 Graffiti Designs, 1 Wayne Allen Harold Productions. For 6 books, that's pretty awesome, I gotta say. Now, the voting is going fast and furious. This is the last day to vote. Please go and vote. Tomorrow, I'll be posting the winners. You know, I didn't even bring up, for this recording, I did not even want to bring up the page to show me how the results are going. I just want to leave it as it is. I should note that I think we may see some surprises. That's it. That's all I want to say. Back to schedule changes, which leads into Artist Edition out-of-print sales. It's something very interesting happened on Diamond this month, and that is that every Graffiti Designs book has suddenly become back-ordered. So I don't know why, but suddenly all of Diamond's stock of the Graffiti Designs books is gone, or Graffiti Designs has stopped shipping them to Diamond. I don't know if that's got anything to do with their deal of distributing through DC, or maybe that's just solicited through DC. I don't know, because that's all changed, right? I mean, DC's doing whatever, and other than, you know, trying to eliminate the established market, it seems. But all those books suddenly unavailable, and that's not the funny thing is it's not just the DC ones actually, because Terry Moore's Strangers in Paradise Gallery Edition, the only non-DC Gallery Edition they've done, is also back ordered. So I don't know if it's a shipping issue maybe to Diamond, or something else is changing. So keep our eyes open for that. I'll be updating the out of print sales again next week, probably maybe the week after. And when I do that, that's when I check all the stock at Diamond. So interesting there. I have to watch and see what's happening. But let's talk Artist Edition out-of-print sales for December 2020. I always look back at the month before. These are all on the website, of course. Everything I discuss is at aeindex.org. I'm available, Scott, at aeindex.org. We're available on Facebook at Facebook/Artist Edition Index. We're available Twitter at aeindex, and I am on Instagram occasionally now at aeindex. I did hold the whole 2020 of covers. I'm sorry, the whole 2020 of images of the first 15 Artist Edition books from IDW to celebrate their 10th anniversary. And then I have not done anything since then. I keep thinking I'm going to be posting reviews, maybe, but I'm not sure what to do with Instagram at this point. All right, let's discuss those out-of-print sales. One copy of Alien the Illustrated Story sold for $130. One copy of Bernie Wright's An Artifact Edition sold for $215. One copy of Best of EC Comics Volume 1 sold for $119.99. One copy of Bill Sienkiewicz's Mutants and Moon Knights and Assassins sold for $250. Two copies of Dave Cockrum's X-Men Artifact Edition sold for $122.50, so undercover there. Four copies of Dave Gibbons' Watchmen Artifact Edition, averaging $106. Five copies of Dave Stevens' A Rocketeer First Print, Artist Edition, $182.99 average. No second prints. Interesting. Two copies of David Mazzucchelli's Jennifer Borning and Artist Edition sold for an average of $249.95. One copy of ElfQuest Gallery Edition sold for $149. Two copies of Frank Miller's Daredevil Artifact Edition, averaging $108.75. One copy of Frank Miller's Sin City, The Hard Goodbye Curators Collection for $100. Wow, that's a good deal below cover there. One copy of Gene Colan's Tomb of Dracula Artist Edition sold for $249.95. Three copies of Gil Kane's The Amazing Spider-Man sold for an average of $121.43. One copy of Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four Artist Edition sold for $74.99. And no copies of the 15 by 22 World's Greatest Artist Edition from Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four. I don't get that. I really do love those earlier issues. Maybe that's just personal preference. Two copies of Jack Kirby's Mighty Thor Artist Edition sold for an average of $109.50. One copy of Jim Starlin's Marvel Cosmic Artifact Edition sold for $149.53. Four copies of Joe Kerbert's Tarzan of the Apes Artist Edition, the first one, averaging $89.99. Three copies of John Buscema's Silver Surfer Artist Edition sold for an average of $115.32. Two copies of John Byrne's Fantastic Four Artist Edition sold for an average of $87.49. Two copies of John Romita's The Amazing Spider-Man Artist Edition Volume 2 sold for an average of $120. Two copies of Marvel Covers Artist Edition sold for an average of $87.50. Four copies of Michael Golden's Micronauts Artist Edition sold for an average of $176.50. Again, I should point out, when I do this is standard covers, no limited editions. So that's really interesting. The released on November 4th in December, 4 copies sold above cover for Michael Golden's Micronauts. And it's basically unavailable from IDW. So that is maybe the fastest we've seen a book go out. Maybe we'll see the Jim Lee book go just as quickly. But again, the Jim Lee book is going to be available through booksellers. Amazon, Indigo for us Canadians. So that may see the market just open up quite a bit. All right, back to the list here. One copy of P. Craig Russell's Murder Mysteries and Other Stories Gallery Edition sold for $101.96. One copy of Ross Andrews' The Amazing Spider-Man sold for $124.90. One copy of Sergio Aragona's Gru the Wanderer sold for $129.99. One copy of Spawn Vault Edition sold for $220. So it's coming down. One copy of Walter Simonson's Thor Artist Edition sold for $109.99. Two copies of Walter Simonson's Thor Artist Edition second print sold for an average of $87.49. That's the month. Interesting. I would have expected a bigger variety of books to sell. A lot of zeros on my list here. A lot of things that didn't sell. All right. And as have I been doing lately, I'd had one review this month. Well, that was a pregnant pause, sorry. And that was Corral, Edition Noir Blanc. And this is the fourth one I think I've done from Dargaud. Let me give you the blurb, which is I translated from Google Translate, so you got to excuse my translation skills here. From Tombstone, from OK Corral, the legend has retained only a famous collective duel, which saw one morning of 1881 four famous thugs, the Clanton and McLaury clan, fall under the bullets of the no less illustrious Earp brothers, supported by Doc Holliday. But it was far from being the only settling of scores that took place that day in the mythical lost town of Arizona, located a few miles from the Mexican border. At least to believe the latest adventures of Blueberry, definitively still around when history is being written. Not that one can reproach this eternal lardhead, I don't know how that translated in French, but lardhead it is, for having gone to face danger and trouble. Once is not customary, it is rather the glitches and the scrambles that came to him. The originals of Jean Giraud's scanned in very high definition, and the ultimate feeling of touch, the plates such as the undisputed master of design delivered them. I gotta look at that. This large format edition is an absolute treat for all bandits and A lovers, a masterful lesson in beauty. So it was released December 2016. It's 12 inches by 16 inches, 56 pages, and it's €19.99. In Canada, if you look for this book, it is generally available for $35. I don't know what that on the States. I've seen some higher prices depending on where you go, but this with the links I have here, it's available from a couple places, which I recommend. Amazon.ca is probably your cheapest option to get this. I'm gonna click on it now, just because it's Canadian. Yeah, it's $34.95 Canadian. So I mean, Americans, you're going to get that under $30. So it's probably your best deal. And then if you want to get it from France, I'm linking a. Is that available or not? No, not available. Interesting. A couple spots not available anymore. Librairie Pantoute, which is a Canadian French bookseller, and Bidi Fugue, which is in France. They had stock previously, and now neither one has stock anymore. It looks like Amazon.ca is your only bet for getting this for a cheap price. I'm sorry. Amazon France still in stock too, so good options there. All right, let's talk this book. It's the fourth. We're taking Jean Giraud, aka Mobius, also known as, right? And it's gorgeous. You can really see, if you are a fan of Mobius and you look at this work and you look at his other maybe later work, Madwoman of the Sacred Heart, you see that he's, how he develops the faces, how he does characters, that kind of thing, facial expressions. You see this is later Mobius work, and it is very, very nice. I mean, the amount of detail he puts into these panels is just inspiring. It's very rare to see an empty panel, and if it is, without background, it's for a reason to fit with the story. But he really likes it's to focus on to change the pace of the panel or to focus on the dialogue. Very dialogue heavy, this book, but there are some nice pages, a lot of good art. I'm not a native French speaker or reader. I'm still struggling through it. I'm trying, but it's just fascinating to look at this book and really study those Giraud pages. Really, really nice. I mean, I've talked about previous reviews about how the great value, in 50 pages, say 50 pages, 56 pages, 48 pages on the other volumes, and, $35, which would be, say 25 US. So you take this book, right, and you multiply it by 3, right? So now you have a 150 page book, and then you've got to say a 75 US cover price, and then you add a hardcover onto it. Maybe that adds $10 to $20, right? So maybe you've got a $95 book now, and you've got an artist edition at that point, right? And now we're paying 150 plus for artist editions with that page count and this paper size. So it is a good value. There's no question. And to be able to pick up the individual volumes, I think collecting this as one volume may get too big because, as I said, they've put out 5 to date, and that's going to be a lot of pages. I have one more to review, Dust, but that may be too thick for a book like this. But would you want to pay? Translated. I'd love to get this translated. 200. Say 250 page hardcover, actually 200 page hardcover, 210, and maybe, $200 translated. I mean, gorgeous. Who wouldn't want that? Please. Dark Horse, apparently you're working with the Mobius estate or the Giraud estate, right? Of course, that library seems to have slowed down and trickled to a death. We haven't seen anything new since those really terrible Inside Mobius books. I could not get through those. But maybe Dark Horse can bring a gallery edition. We haven't seen a gallery edition from Dark Horse in several years either. And the last one, but Lone Wolf and Cub was a stunner. So maybe they're going to pop something like this out again. Even if we can get something every 3-4 years from Dark Horse in gallery edition, if it's stunning work like the Lone Wolf and Cub, or maybe we could see this Jean Giraud work. Amazing. This is a softcover volume. It is the pages are stitched, but then it's a glued, right? It's a glued cover on the and gluing to keep the stitched pages together. So it opens fairly well. It reads well. You hold it in your hand. It reads exceptionally well. I'm just spreading the pages as flat as I can to take pictures for the review. So I'm not sure many people would be doing that. And an interesting thing about this book is we get 4 additional bonus pages because apparently Giraud redrew the first 4 pages of this story. He still had them, so they are included at the back of this book. So that's a nice little bonus to have in here. And something just to add to the material. Really great. If you're a fan of Mobius, you really owe it to yourself to pick these up. I know the earlier ones are unavailable at this point. They're just not. You can't get them. But this one still seems to be around on Amazon. So does the last volume, Dust. So they're definitely well worth picking up. I'm trying to get into more foreign volumes. I have still books lined up for review for this year. I should be fine to put out 1 review a month. Most of them are going to be foreign language, or they're going to be exhibits, catalogs. IDW did those catalogs of Ditko and Buscema, and the Russ Heath one I didn't buy. So I'm still looking for that one, actually, to see if I can put that up. But so I got some things coming up. Still things focusing on original art, so don't lose hope there. And as I said, we've got 3 AE format books on the schedule for this year so far. Solicited through Diamond. We have 2 solicited through crowdfunding. Wow, I'm striving for that word. So we're looking at 5, and then we've really only had announcements till April. So I think hopefully we'll see a few more books second half of 2021 here. That's it for that. I would like to mention that the site is supported by you, the fans and readers, either through Kickstarter. Jeez, I'm really a lot. Either through not crowdfunding. I guess it is crowdfunding, isn't it? Through Patreon, where it's you can support me by $1 or more a month. Greatly appreciated. Or more if you don't like that idea. All the links on the site are affiliate links that get me some percentages of the books you buy. Using the eBay ones are probably your best bet, since the market is active there, and I do update a list of pricing every month. You can take advantage of that. The pre-orders are getting harder because the books are stretching out so long. I'm not sure about pre-ordering and whether they're still available when you try and pre-order, but the Things from Another World link, I greatly appreciate it if you use that as well. The Amazon links, not so great, but hey, everything that you click on and order from the site is something that helps me keep things going, so I greatly appreciate it. It is my goal to be picking up some more French language books. I'm sort of out of the lower priced ones that Dargaud has in that $25, $30 range. I'm moving up to the the €200 range, which is a bit frightening for me. But I'm going to get a couple of those shipped from France, and we'll see how that goes. Excited about original art always, and this gives me an opportunity to see some French original art that piques my interest. It's a great publisher / website, Black and White, and I've been chatting with the owner there. So I'm trying to determine, these are the French labels. They use a lot of different labels. Sometimes it's hard to determine, is that shot from the plates, like the original art boards? Is that shot from the art boards but then done in black and white? Some such as how Russ Cochran took the original art and did the original EC Library hardcovers from the 80s, right? That's black. It looks black and white, but it is shot from the original art, right? They cleaned that up, did it in black and white. So a lot of the French art books are like that. And then, I mean, there are some places available in the States you can order them from. Stuart Ing. It's actually, for me in Canada, it's this. I might as well just order from France. It's actually the same money for me to get it from France as it is to get it from Stuart Ing. So I'll probably continue to do that. And with the border closed, it's harder for me to get things. I used to get things shipped to my post box and then just drive down there and pick them up. That was great. But maybe we'll see the borders open again this year. It's hard to predict. I think we're all working towards the vaccine or getting vaccinated from the available vaccines. Now they're talking about the second round of vaccines. So we'll see. Not really related to this podcast either. I'm sorry I keep going down different rabbit holes here and losing trains of thought. If you are a fan of the Artist Edition Index, again, you can find us at aindex.org. Email me, please, any questions you have. Scott@aindex.org. I have all these books, right? I keep them around. I'm still working on getting an online store set up. I put it aside because I wanted to ship out of the States for any of the books I could. I'm going to move forward with, I found a place that will, they actually drive to the States, so I can still get things shipped media mail. There's some processing fees on top of it, but they pick it up in Canada and drive it over and ship it, so that may be my best shipping option for that. So I've got a stack of artist editions that I've got that I want, extras that I want to sell. So I'll probably try and work on a online store as time progresses. Maybe next month, maybe the month after. I don't know. Please remember, if you have not voted for the 2020 Dunbier Awards, please do so. I really appreciate it. And every vote counts, absolutely. But please read through all the questions and vote on all the questions. I'm not sure why, but I put the categories, and it doesn't matter what category I put up first, it gets the most votes. So by the time you get to the fifth one, it goes down steadily, the votes. I don't quite understand that. And then every year, the last several years, I've included an option to check off what books you bought last year. This year, the list is quite small, 6 books. Please, it gives us an idea of who's buying, right? How many books are bought? Or how many people are buying several volumes, one volume. That's always interesting to see. All right, thanks for joining me again for this podcast, and I would like to thank my listeners in Hungary. I didn't want to mention that United States is still my primary listening audience for this podcast, but Canada has now come to the second spot, so my fellow Canadians have supported me more than the past, and Hungary has slipped to the third spot. So I'll have to see if that holds true and keeps its place. All right, thanks for joining me, and we will be back again next month.